If I had a friend that was going through the same thing, I would explain to them how the Wellness Way has changed my life for the better and how it could help them as well.
So we got involved with the Wellness Way by a friend of mine suggesting that we bring our son Nicholas here. We had met with Dr. Patrick, and she had had some good luck with her daughter coming here, and they had treated her. So we felt like it was an option for us. He was an easygoing baby, very easy, no problems, very quiet. Even as an infant, he was just not very needy. But now when I look at him, I worry about friends and, the social aspect that young kids should have, more social people. But I think because of who he is and what he went through, I think that makes him who he is today. He was having some issues in first grade with behavior issues, so outbursts, some anger issues. He had some emotional issues, and he was ticking. We had done behavioral testing through a clinic here in town. It's an 8-hour testing. After the 8-hour testing, the diagnosis was the 4 things. It was ADHD, depression, anxiety, and tics. When we asked them what they could do to help us, the response was something we didn't like at all. And we left there actually feeling that we didn't have an option, because basically it was medication. And my question to the doctor was, what do we do about the tics? Because he's 6 years old. I was worried about where did the tics come from? Why did they suddenly start? And they did not have an answer.
We did not want our son to be heavily medicated, so we looked for alternatives beyond just the pharmacological approaches. The Wellness Way's approach is different, and Dr. Flynn talks about being a carpenter, and the pharmacological approach, they were just firefighters. They were just going to put out the fire and continue to medicate the problem. Dr. Flynn wanted to get to the root cause of the problem and address it at its source, so that we wouldn't have to have our son and the rest of his life be living on medication.
The process with the Wellness Way was different. We learned a lot in the aspect of, okay, it's food related, and that was a whole new thing to us. He had 47 food allergies. That's a lot. That's a very high amount. And it was tough in the beginning. When we came here and they did foods and other testing, they found out that only one brain hormone, epinephrine, was twice as high off the chart. Why was one brain hormone so high compared to all the other ones, which were all within normal range at that time? It was scary coming in the first time because we didn't know. And then when you leave and you realize, there's a cost involved, but you have to look at the health of your child. And we were like, we got to do this. And even if, some people might hesitate and think, well, it might not work, but what if it does? And this totally changed his life. If we had gone traditional medicine, they would have medicated him heavily to help the ADHD and the tics, which we were told there were only 5 medications for at that time. But we wanted to know, why they were happening. And then compounding all these meds on top would have probably affected all his other brain functions. And then to help solve that, it would have been more medication, where it would have just been this constant wheel of meds to help this, and then he'd get depressed, and then they'd probably give him another medication on top of that just to solve the problem. He didn't totally grasp what we were trying to do. But when we showed up for school in the fall, and the teacher said, whatever medication you have him on, it's working awesome. And we said, he's not medicated. It's all food and vitamins. And they really could not believe that much change could happen in that short amount of time from just changing his food and taking really good supplements. He had switched schools then, going from 2nd to 3rd grade, which actually benefited him. He went to a lot smaller school. He had a great 3rd grade teacher who seemed to understand him, but the school worked with us in a lot of ways to help him. So they let him stand at his desk. He had different seats to sit in because he couldn't sit still. Even though he was loud, the whole class accepted him. As the time changed and as the food allergies became less and the supplements worked, emotionally you saw less outbursts and anger. You saw a calmer kid. He had issues sleeping too with that. Some of that anxiety, like his brain would not shut off.
Yeah, now when he sleeps, he hibernates like a bear.
Yeah. Yeah.
47 food allergies is a lot. And you know, a lot of the things that he liked to eat, you know, we had to move away from things. Beef, we had to try different foods. Like we tried bison. He liked cheese and milk. We had to try goat's cheese, sheep's cheese, and different things. And working through that, it would not have been successful without Nicholas's buy-in. And he did a great job buying into the different things that we were trying. And even to this day, as doctor has to tweak the vitamins and herbs that he's taking, he just rolls with it. And you have to have people who are willing, from the parent standpoint, to come in and get engaged. But you know, the patient has to be willing to do this too. And you know, Nicholas did a great job. And the other part of it too is I think Dr. Flynn runs a family atmosphere here. You're not just a patient or a revenue unit or something like that. Like he wants to get to know about his patients. Nicholas came and saw him recently. Dr. Flynn's asked him about what he's going to do for a job, how is he doing in school. I think Dr. Flynn cares. Long term, he's going to live a more productive life, not having to be on medication for the rest of his life. He's able to consume some of the foods that showed up on his allergies list in moderation, but still we're to a point where 1 or 2 glasses of milk and he had some issues. Now he can have some of those things by working through the process that Dr. Flynn brought forward.
It was just like one big ball of problems, and they all just slowly started changing and dissipating. And that doesn't mean now there are not any, because he's 15. Doc has explained that as he goes through adolescence and puberty, and his hormones are constantly changing. And so I'll just give him a call and we work through those still now, until at one point as an adult, his body will be more level.
Well, I think Facebook, you've got friends, social media, there's people that in this area that are using the Wellness Way. People. Investigate, ask questions, find people who are here. I can understand alternative medicine from the outside looking in, doesn't look very promising, but it is, and you just need to find people that have gone through the process and just trust the process and trust them. If you're not getting the care and the treatment that you think is right for your child or for yourself, places like the Wellness Way are the right place to go. It benefited us. Dr. Flynn has been tremendous for our life. Both my wife and son are patients, and he's really impacted us. And I recommend anyone who's looking for something alternative to the mainstream medicine to come in and look at the Wellness Way.
Wellness Way stories are glimpses into personal experiences shared between patient and doctors. These insightful stories share the perspective that was captured during their health restoration journey. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more heartfelt content from the Wellness Way.